welcome back to the channel. Today I'm diving into a camera that is a little different from what I usually talk about. The Leica Q2 Monochrome. This camera is more than just a piece of tech. It changes the way you see and shoot. I'm not talking about specs or technical details here. What I really am interested in sharing with you today is how a monochromatic sensor changes your approach, your perception, and ultimately your experience as a photographer. And yes, Leicas are famously expensive, but I was lucky to score mine at a great deal from a fellow YouTuber and photographer, Dave Herring. Big thanks to Dave because this camera is something special. So let's talk about black and white photography. Most of us start in color. We're used to seeing in color, and that's naturally how we interpret the world. But when I started shooting on the Q2M, I realized it's not just a black and white filter on your image. It's an entire shift in how you see light, shadow, and contrast. For instance, on this camera, you're no longer thinking about how a blue sky will pop or how that red jacket will add color to your shot. Instead, you're thinking in terms of contrast, tone, and texture. It's more about the structure of the image than the colors that fill it, if that makes sense. You kind of start looking for moments where light and shadow interact, where textures become bold and where shapes define your composition. It's almost kind of meditative because you have to slow down and see things that would usually be overshadowed by color. Light is everything when you're shooting monochrome, especially on a dedicated black and white sensor, aka a monochrome sensor. With the Q2M, you start noticing different qualities of light. Soft light, hard light, direct light, diffuse light. Each one has its own unique impact on the shot. If I'm shooting in the early morning, let's say, or late afternoon, I'll see the soft shadows that add a gentle texture, maybe emphasizing details on a building or creating a soft, moody portrait. In mid-daylight, shadows are sharper. They are harsher and create strong, bold contrast. Shooting this way really trains you to work with the available light rather than depending on it to make colors pop. It's about appreciating light for what it does on its own terms. One thing I find amazing about the Q2M is how much detail it captures. The monochrome sensor isn't limited by the Bayer filter that typically color sensors use, so every pixel is devoted purely to light information. This allows for this insane level of sharpness and texture that you don't quite get with color images. Imagine photographing an old building. The textures in the stone, the cracks, the way the light is intensified and it hits each surface. You're not distracted by color, so your eyes are drawn to every little detail. You see the character, the age, the imperfections that all tell a story. It's like the camera lets you cut through any distraction and capture the essence of the subject. Another thing that makes the Q2M special is its ability to convey mood and emotion. When you're shooting in monochrome, there's this timeless quality to the images, something that feels raw and intimate. It's as if the black and white format makes every shot feel more intentional and more meaningful. When I'm shooting with the Q2M, I find that I'm often trying to tell a story with the simplest of elements. A shadow cast across a wall, a solitary figure, in a crowd, the lines of a cityscape maybe against the sky. With the monochrome sensor, these moments have a quiet power. They don't feel like snapshots. They feel like windows into a world that's a bit more stripped down, a bit more honest. Now, you might be wondering, isn't all of this something you could just do in post-processing? Well, yes and no. You could, convert a color image to black and white, but it's not the same as capturing it in monochrome from the start. Shooting with the Q2M just isn't about the final image, it's about the experience or the mindset. The camera doesn't give you any shortcut. It makes you work actually a bit harder, look a bit closer and think about things differently. I think that's what makes it so unique. This camera isn't about megapixels or specs, it's a specific intentional way of seeing the world. Every time I pick it up, I'm reminded that photography is about more than just capturing what's in front of you. It's about capturing how you see it and how you feel it. So if you're curious about trying black and white photography, or if you're looking for a way to push your creative boundaries, I definitely recommend the Leica Q2 Monochrome. It's not just a camera, it is definitely an experience that makes you think differently about photography. But again, let's be real, it isn't cheap. If the price tag is a bit steep, and I am sure it is for most people, and it is for myself, there are definitely more cost-effective ways to explore monochrome. Again, you could start with a regular digital camera and work it in post-processing, or you could even try film, for a pure black and white experience. But if you ever get the chance to try the Q2M or any of other monochrome sensors by Leica, I think you'll find it is definitely an eye-opener. So thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your experience with monochrome photography, or if you're just thinking about diving into black and white. Until next time, keep creating, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next video.